don't really know how to intro this, but basically it's just going to be reviewing a bunch of random things. And here's everything. I'm just going to put that up there and the timestamps of when they appear so that if you're looking for a specific thing, it's there for you. These are probably going to be quick. I can go more in depth if you guys want, but these are more so like snap judgments. Is this for me? Is this not for me? Yada, yada, yada. First, we're going to get into books because I do want to read more. So I have been reading this year more and more. But the latest book I read was Endurance, Shackleton's Incredible Voyage. It came out in 1959, I think, by Alfred Lansing. And the thing about this book is it's based on a true story. And it's basically, I think, Alfred took a bunch of like journal entries and he like asked the crew stuff, and he basically recounted kind of the events in a novel format. And I think the important thing, without getting too in depth with this, I do think it's worth reading because of the importance that optimism has in your life and the kind of the necessity of optimism in a way. Like, the stuff that they go through is just tough, like it is a slog the whole way through. Their ship crashes, pretty much gets like crushed, and they're forced to travel across like ice and go to islands. Not that island, just other islands. I forget what they're crossing. It's some transatlantic or some voyage. I really should have done more. I forget. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a good adventure book, but I think it teaches the importance of optimism. Because they are being tested, but they're all searching for those small moments to keep themselves like happy. Some people are a little better at it than others, but I think, potential spoilers, you don't get... Okay, I'm just going to tell you the whole thing, because if you read it, it does spoil, because they have pictures of everything. So avoid the pictures, because there's a second batch of pictures, I think, and it basically spoils the whole thing, in a way. But if you were to use your deductive reasoning skills, you would know that they survive, or most of them survive, right? Because how else would they would be found? How else would these like journal entries, and how would they be like interviewed? So you put that together, but I don't think you get this far without that optimism. Like, if you are... This could be a whole separate video, but I don't want to drag it on too long. You're going to read the book or not read the book. But I think there's a lot of the psychological in there. And that's the only book we read for now. I'm not counting, obviously, manga would be in here, but the chapter week-to-week stuff I don't want to include. Maybe, I know One Piece 1189, I'll just briefly mention that. I mean, Elbaf is probably a top 3 arc. That might be a hot take, but I mean, we're like, it's just perfect. Oda's really cooking right now. It's one of the best times to be a One Piece fan. That's all I'll say. I don't want to hold on to that one. Transitioning, the only show I talked about, I finished it a few months ago, but I want to talk about, I think it's important. It is truly such a shame that, based on someone like, you're cutting yourself off. This is about My Hero. So I finished My Hero, basically season 5 to season 8. It was incredible. Season 5 is like the weakest, but it has like some good moments, right? The I think the My Villain Academia and like the start of Paranormal Liberation Front, it's got some good moments, right? You have like Dead Man's Parade, you have Shigaraki's like awakening, you have I think at the beginning you have like the joint exam or training. I think Black Whip makes its debut and stuff, but after that, like it's just great. You know, you have the like the rest of the war, and then I mean, don't even get me started on the Deku Vigilante arc, and then you have like the final war. It's truly a shame that people will see or hear about people that associate themselves with this, and they just won't engage with it. And there's a lot, not only like My Hero is the example, but there's a lot of other things that are the same way. And I think you get to a point where you realize it's not that important. Like, you can separate yourself. I think shutting yourself off from engaging with the story about one of the best heroes in recent memory, like one of the greater superhero stories, I think you're not, like, it's just a shame. And then we're going to talk about some albums, but I want to give a couple shouts to Night Ripper by Girl Talk. I didn't want to call myself, like, I'm a fan of Plunderphonics. I think it's a really great genre, like the sample-based stuff, but I don't think I had a deep enough bag for things. Like, I just didn't have listen to enough from the genre. Like, of course, Avalanches, Burial, Untrue, a lot of Burial stuff, Donuts, if you want to count that. I think there's another that I'm missing, but this one was great. The only thing, it's like kind of horny, and it like throws you off a little bit. But if that's your vibe, it has like this kind of the cool thing about like sample based albums are they are good jumping off points to get you into other stuff, because you'll hear like a bass line, or you'll hear like a vocal sample, or you'll hear all this stuff, and it'll like, oh, you look it up, and then it introduces you to other music. The real problem is just finding it on streaming services, because rarely, well, sometimes most of them are like cleared, but this one, I think it's back on streaming, but there was a point when I was listening to it, I just had to listen to it on YouTube. But it's good. I would give it like, I'm not going to give these things a score, more so just like, should you watch it, shouldn't you watch it, or interact with it, or listen to it in this case. It's worth it. I think at least listening to once, it's 40 minutes, 42 minutes. So I'd give it a spin. I think it was 20 years old. So there's that. The other thing, next, Fake Mink's Terrified. Now this one grew on me. Like the first time I listened to it, I was like, I'm getting along with some bits. I'm not like too crazy about other bits. So I've listened to it a few more times, and I kind of found a good spot. I think, you know, I think it's worth it. I enjoy it a lot. There's some spots though, like Fire and Ice and Enta, I don't know. I'm not gonna look it up. They're good, like in the context of the album. I don't get what he was going for. I kind of get what he was going for. But it like kind of ruins the momentum, but as a whole, like, it makes sense. But if you were to just put it on shuffle, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna listen to these. But of course, Night Blooming Jasmine, the one that's like in a dress, Pony something, I forget it. Our Angel is good. Creed is good. And there's a few more that are like really good, and everything else just kind of has a pretty high level of quality. So if you're into like underground, or I mean, if you probably are into underground, you've listened to it. But this is a very divisive one, so I would give it a spin. And then kind of switching lanes to, I have the Wings greatest hits. I don't know about this. I'm not the biggest Beatles guy. Like, I know they got some hits. They've got some good bangers, but I'm just not like, I don't know. I felt like Paul was fooling around too much. And it's just not for me. Like, it's good. You can tell that he knows how to play. But in terms of like making, like, he has a song that's about like letting someone in. There's someone at the door, let him in. I'm just it reminds me of like Bungalow Bill, off the White Album, like, which I'm not, like stuff like that. It's like he had an idea in his head, and like, I'm just gonna say this thing for a minute, and then say another thing related to this. Like, oh, there's someone's at the door. Let him in. Someone's at the door. Knocking, knocking. Like, okay. I wouldn't listen to this one. My only of the day. That was my mouth, by the way. Movies. Last two, and then we'll be done. It's only been 12 minutes, so that was really fast. Thief from 1981. If you're a fan of like 70s Chicago, if that interests you, I think this is a good movie overall. Like, it's well constructed. Soundtrack is amazing. Tangerine Dream. It's got some nice shots. It's got a nice vibe, look to it. But the thing to me is, like, nothing really happens until some things really happen. There's some good dialogue moments, like at the coffee shop, if you know. And it's got like a cool look to it. So I think if you're like a film student, you might be. It was directed by Michael Mann, who did Heat, which is another big one of his, which I haven't seen. But if you're like a film student, or you're just into, like, it's kind of it's called Thief, but it's not really focused on the heist. It's more about the guy behind it and kind of his struggle. Like, he's an ex-convict, and this is what he does to make money. So, if that sounds like it's for you, you would enjoy it, then I would give it a watch. But it's not, like, to me, it wasn't amazing. It was like a 3.5 out of 5, in my opinion, on the upper end. There's some stuff where I'm like, this is kind of a 3, but there's some edited parts that I'm like, okay, this is like a 4 kind of thing. So it balances. Anyways, the big ticket, the best for last, The Odyssey. If you're on the fence, give it a go. Give it a go. You're going to enjoy it. But if you're hating this movie, I can totally, I don't understand, but I see why. But I don't think that it really matters. But I also will say, if you're nitpicking this movie, I don't think there's an iteration. If you saw this movie and are still like, this didn't make sense, this there's not an iteration I think that you would like. I think just this is like, is this the? I would say this. Is this the greatest thing in the world? No. Is it probably the greatest movie of the year? Potentially. Dune? We'll have to see for Dune 3. But it's a front runner. I think this is better than Project Hail Mary. If not due to its scale, size, due to just kind of everything that happens. Project Hail Mary was good. Or Obsession. I think this is better than Obsession. Obsession maybe like it like hits you more. But this is a different kind of like hitting. It hits in the more like, it kind of makes you ponder, you know, and it makes you think a little bit, but not in like an Interstellar, not in like a thriller sort of way. But it's a good movie. I think this is like a 4.5 out of 5. I would recommend seeing it. If my seal of approval means anything to you, that's everything. 16 minutes. We're done.